Hey guys, it's your pal Victor here. We just watched Eternals, and I definitely have thoughts, so stay tuned. Hey guys, so we just got out of Eternals, and all right, let me just preface this by saying I went into this movie with really low expectations because the advertising, the marketing for this movie really hasn't sold me on it. I'm not trying to go out of my way to watch too many trailers for it. I'm just like, but it surprised me like Shang-Chi did, and I loved Shang-Chi. I think that's one of the best Marvel films in a long, long time. So we get to Eternals, and let me just tell you guys, Eternals is an overstuffed mess. It by and large, it's trying to introduce at least 15 different characters, not counting the 10 Eternals themselves. Phastos, Icarus, Ajax, Sprite, Cersei, Gilgamesh, Athena, Kingo, the fast one, Makari, and God, there's at least one more I'm forgetting. I'm sure it's like an important one. Druig. So those are the 10 Eternals, plus Cersei's love interest, Dane Whitman, plus their celestial leader, Arishem, plus the Deviants, and more characters, including Kingo's valet. And this movie is almost 3 hours long on top of that. And it's trying to say a lot about man's nature in relationship to a supreme being, and coming to when you no longer believe in that supreme being, even though you've served it for a long time. And then it's trying to do some really tropey shit that I really want to rip into, but I'm not going to do spoilers in this review. And then it's like really leaning on fans and on, you know, comic book stuff in terms of like Dane Whitman's character, who in the comics is the Black Knight, which he's never called out in this movie. He's just kind of a background character, but it's just like suggesting that in this movie at one point, and then it's just like, you know, it's just this movie feels overstuffed, and I hate to say it, but like this would have worked so much better as a miniseries, because even as a short movie, it feels a lot like that Inhumans TV show that was on ABC. And I don't want to make that comparison, but that's totally what it is, mixed with like low budget like Watchmen. And this movie just feels like it has no stakes, because so much of it is like the Eternals sort of infighting and dealing with stuff with the Celestials. And even though there's like a great threat in this movie, it just never feels like the Earth is in danger, especially in a movie that suggests like, oh, you know, we're detached, we're so far away from the world because we obey the Celestials. That's why we never got involved with Thanos or anything. But then afterwards, like, oh, I could lead the Avengers, says one character. But then when there's this world-destroying threat going on, the Avengers don't show up. So you can't have it both ways. You know, the threat, if world-level threats need the Avengers and the Avengers don't show up, vice versa. The other thing, this movie, this is a big issue that's going to affect a lot of MCU movies moving forward, is the idea of retroactive continuity. It's when you change something now and say this is how it is, but then when it's been addressed in the past, now you're changing that and it negates other movies. After you watch this movie, you're not going to look at a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 the same way. In fact, this might change the way you think about characters like Thanos altogether, because of a big revelation that happens in this movie that is presented in such a clumsy expository way that it just kind of like makes you shake your head like, why would this even happen? And that's by and large the biggest issue with Eternals, is that it tells you things instead of showing you them. And I think a lot of people going into this, like critiquing it, are going to be like, oh, this movie says so much, and says so much. It never shows you things. For as much as people criticize something like Man of Steel for having too high of a casualty count and these characters not feeling like heroes because, you know, people are dying in collateral damage you don't see people in this movie. Everything is in like a deserted island or, you know, a space away from people. So when there's like stakes that involve humanity, which very much deal with happen in this movie in the grandest terms, where are the people? You see people in past scenes and giant disasters and them, the heroes fighting and defending people and getting them out of the way, but when it matters, it's just infighting and it feels really detached from everything else. And that's kind of like, if you're gonna do stuff like this, there have to be real stakes. And it feels like this movie just like, it's just so detached from everything. And the archetypes, because they're not even people, they're just archetypes, just are so busy arguing over their place in the order of whatever, that it just doesn't feel fun or grounded, or just like, you just don't make emotional connections to these characters. And then, you mean, these characters are present, like there's Marvel's first gay hero is in this movie, right? And we know that because they tell us that he's gay, and they show a kiss, and it's like, okay, that character and his family seem real. But then it's like, aside from that, it's like, this character's funny because we've seen him in the context of being funny, and this character's just angry, you know? And it's like, you get like, for a movie that literally has at least 10 origin stories, like, well, now we have to go pick up this character and this character, let's see their origin. Some characters seem like way too much is wasted on their characterization, which could have been, and characters who need it get like so little. It's just so unbalanced. And, you know, for a director like Chloe Zhao, who's known for really long expository shots and kind of cool, you know, soulful cinematography, a lot of the soulful cinematography in this movie is CGI, like straight up just CGI. And it's like, should we be congratulating the director for picking a good like effects studio? I don't know. I'm just like, I just left this movie feeling really disappointed, despite coming in like not expecting much, and especially like in the wake of Shang-Chi or even What If, which are both really characterization heavy, feel like telling like cosmic stories that work. In this movie, just, it doesn't work for me. And I'm sorry if that like irritates you as a viewer, but I'm broken down why I don't like it and why the issues I think it has. And it has much bigger issues in that I've laid here, but I'm not going to spoil the movie. I'll do a spoiler review later. But just by and large, Eternals has issues. It doesn't really work. It's too long. It's overstuffed. Should have been a miniseries. And it, you know, the movie sets up another movie I don't want to see. Literally, in the CGI in this movie, dude, the CGI in this movie is lacking, and you will know once you see it. Anyway, those are my thoughts. If you have questions and comments, feel free. I'll try to address them. Anyway, talk to you later. Thanks, guys.